Are we live? Tommy, can you hear me? Hey. All right. So I spent the whole day getting prepared for this. Was all set up. Everything was perfectly in place. And then, of course, internet connectivity issues, and then had to reboot the Mac and blah, blah, blah. But here we are. We are live. So good to see you. Be sure and give us a shout out in the comments. Let us know where you're connecting from. I'm going to give this just a couple more minutes for some people to jump on board as we are a few minutes late. 9 minutes. Good Lord. That's way late. I grew up in a household where I was raised by a Marine who told me that if you're on time, you're late. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. It stuck. Served me well. It's good training. Hey, thank God it's Friday. Why? Because I thank God it's every day. I thank God it's Saturday. Thank God it's Sunday. Thank God it's Monday. Love Mondays. Love Mondays. Why? Because I love every day. Every day is a gift to be on this planet, to have the privilege of living in the time we live in. You know, people are talking about how bad things are right now. There are challenging things happening. I see that. I don't deny that. I do deny those things the ability to lacerate my heart. I deny those things the ability to make me depressed. I deny those things the ability to make me discouraged. Come on, somebody needs to hear this. I deny those things the privilege of having access to my mind, to my thoughts, to my subconscious, because all those negative, hateful, spiteful, divisive things, they're bad. Good things come from God. Bad things come from the devil. It's advanced theology. So if it's bad, I'm in denial. It's asking for permission to enter my mind and my heart. Permission denied. Come on, let's get into it. Let's talk about the perfect business today. So how this is going to go is I'm going to just jump into the content. I'm going to teach you for a few minutes, then want to answer some questions. I have nothing to sell you. So if you're expecting that, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Some other time, I will be happy to sell you something. And I do mean that. I'm not joking. There's Denarian. Hello, Denarian in Kansas City. Joseph in New York City. God, I love New York City. I miss it so bad. I got to get back there. I just enjoyed my last visit so deeply, so much. Matthew Barnes, listening from the great state of Iowa. Love me some Iowa. No, not the late Ray Edwards in that regard. My goodness. Hello, Marcus. Welcome from Berkeley, California. So good to see everybody here. Put those comments, give me the shout out, say hello in the comments. If you have questions you want to ask me, we'll do those a little bit later. But since we're a little bit behind schedule, I think I'm going to just jump in and start talking about the perfect business. And if you're catching this late, you can watch the replay. It'll be up later. So the topic for today's video is very simple. It's the perfect business. What do I mean by the perfect business? First of all, some of you have jumped ahead and decided that what I'm talking about is copywriting. It's not copywriting. It's something else that we're talking about. I'm talking about the perfect business model. Now, you could be a copywriter and you could implement this business model. In fact, I recommend that you do. But let's talk about what the perfect business model looks like. So I've got 5 checkpoints I want to share with you about what the perfect business looks like. And when I say perfect business, I'm talking about a business that has huge upside potential and virtually no downside risk, and it has enormous markup or profit margin. Let's go into it. Let's start with point number 1. Checkpoint number 1 for the perfect business is it is uncopyable. Now, you might be tempted to jump in here and argue with me now and say, but Ray, any business is copyable to a certain degree. But if your business is based on your personality or unique intellectual property that you only possess, it's uncopyable. Now, somebody might be able to emulate your style. They might be able to emulate your approach. They might be able to emulate your method even and just give it a different name. It's it is rather easy to slip around the laws over personal intellectual property, unfortunately. But the point I'm trying to make is, if you step in, if you are the personality of your business, if you're appearing on social media, on YouTube, on your podcast, then people can't copy you. They may copy what you say, they may copy your ideas, but they can't copy you if you put your indelible stamp on it. Now, if you pretend to be someone you're not, if you're just trying to emulate some other guru and you want to be a junior version of that person, then you're very copyable. You're very vulnerable. You're just a commodity at that point. But if you will let your own inner weird out and just be your darn self in public, while you're doing the thing that you do to help people, you are uncopyable. You are a category of one. You are uniquely you. Checkpoint number 2 for the perfect business. It should be a business that has 100x markup. In other words, another way to look at this is, it costs $1 to make the thing you sell, and it costs $100. You can charge $100 for it. So you're making something that, with checkpoint number 2, you have a business where you pay $1 to make something, you sell it for $100. Your markup, your net or your gross profit margin is now $99. That's extraordinarily important. And the reason it's extraordinarily important is you need that margin to be able to do the rest of your business in the way I recommend you do it. To charge premium prices, which I've taught for a long time, and I've done this for a long time. I didn't know any better. I started out charging premium prices, and I just never thought to go back to charging tiny little prices. So you want to have this markup because you're going to need it so you can deliver extraordinary service. If you're charging someone, for instance, $25,000 or $36,000 to be in a mastermind group or an apprentice group, then you need to have the margin to be able to deliver extraordinary service to those people. And the only way to do it is to charge enough so that you can serve them well. People sometimes have a problem charging premium prices. They don't understand it's not about just collecting as much money as possible for yourself, although there's nothing wrong with that. It's also about having enough cash flow to be able to serve your customers at an extraordinarily high level. So you must have a 100x markup, minimum. Number 3, the perfect business would be habit forming. Now, I'm not recommending you get into selling drugs, but there's an industry that this principle works for very well. Many drugs are habit forming. Caffeine is a drug. It is habit forming. Did you guys hear that bump into my tooth? That hurt. Caffeine is a habit forming drug. Every day I see people and talk to people who say, I can't get going without my morning caffeine. They're addicted to caffeine. That's why we have a coffee shop. We're selling a habit-forming substance. Coffee, often with sugar, another habit-forming substance. Now, in the online world, we see social media services are habit-forming. Anybody who's downloaded TikTok and spent any time looking at those videos knows what I'm talking about. You pull out your phone, you say, I'm going to look at TikTok for 5 minutes. 2 hours later, you wonder where the day went. Habit-forming. Other services and products can also be habit-forming. If you have a personality-based business and your marketing and your content is so compelling that people need it like a fix every day to get them pumped up, to get them motivated, to get them inspired, to give them the ideas they need to push their business forward, that's a habit they have formed. It is a connection they long to preserve. And the pain of disconnect, if you've done that correctly, if you've made the correct bond with people through your personal brand, the pain of disconnect is great. You can be a habit-forming product. You as the brand. Checkpoint number 4 for the perfect business, it involves zero downside risk. So what I'm saying by this is it needs to be a business where you're delivering something that you don't have to pay for stockpiles of inventory. You don't have to pay for shipping. You don't have to pay for manufacturing. It's something you make out of thin air. It's atoms. It's electrons. In other words, it's digital. Could be videos, could be audio, could be print, could be coaching via video. could be consulting through Zoom, but it doesn't cost you anything to deliver. Now, some will say, well, yeah, but it costs your time, the value of your time. That is a net cost you've got to think about. But in terms of gross operating numbers for your business, there is no cost to those kinds of products. So there's zero downside risk. You haven't put up any capital to make this thing work. But there's huge upside potential. Because done right, you can start from zero and add 10 coaching clients this month and make $250,000. Why do I say that? That seems like an extraordinary claim to make. It's an experience I've had over and over again. As I add new people to a $25,000 program, we put in 10 people a month, that's $250,000. It's very possible. It's very doable for almost anybody watching this right now. You may need to learn some specialized knowledge. My guess is if you're watching a video like this, you already have that specialized knowledge. Checkpoint number 5 for the perfect business, it needs to have a long-term timeline. In other words, it needs to be replicable over time. Something there's going to be demand for next year and 5 years from now and 10 years from now, and it can keep happening even if you are out of the picture. You can find ways to put somebody else in the spotlight. You can record trainings. You can create virtual presence, and the business can go on a long-term basis with or without you. The product will be sellable 10 years from now, just as it is today. It has a long-term timeline. That makes the business more valuable over time. $1 million business that only lasts a year is worth $0 next year. A business that churns out $1 million in profit every year for the next 10 years is worth multiples of $10 million. If you don't understand that math, do some Googling about valuing a business and you'll begin to see what I'm talking about. So these are the 5 checkpoint qualities of the perfect business model. Number 1, uncopyable. Number 2, 100 times markup. You can make the product for $1, you can sell it for 100. Number 3, it's habit forming. Number 4, 0 downside risk, huge upside potential. And number 5, it has a long-term expected lifetime as a business. That is the perfect business model. Now, you might wonder, well, what kind of business qualifies as one of these perfect businesses? That is a good question. And I'll give you some examples because it's many more than you think. It could be online courses, ebooks, checklists, coaching, virtual workshops, virtual summits, stories like books of short stories or long stories. Could be graphic novels, could be teaching, could be writing, publishing, recurring membership, software as a service, templates. Could be all these things. These are all digital products that are deliverable online at no cost to you with enormous markup. It meets all the 5 checkpoint qualities we've talked about. So this is just a partial list. There are so many others. My guess is whatever you do, if you're a consultant or a coach, that is eminently deliverable as a digital product for which there's no cost of manufacture. Let me just check my comments to see what we've got. If we've got any questions. Let's see. There's Larissa. Hello, Larissa. Cynthia, good to see you too. Don, you can call me Ray. You don't have to call me Jay. You don't have to call me Mr. Johnson. You just call me Ray. I remember those commercials. Happy you're here too, Martin. So why did I decide to show up here today to do this live cast? I've been thinking about what the perfect opportunity is that we're sitting in front of today. What a perfect time in history. We are now in a world that has become accustomed to shopping online, to doing business online, to creating and serving online. And it accelerated in the last year and a half because of the pandemic, which is, the pandemic is a bad thing. I admit that. However, some good things have come out of it. One of the good things to come out of it is, I believe the creator economy, as it's now being called, has been accelerated by at least 10 years in the past year. If the pandemic had not happened, I believe it would have taken us 10 years to get to where we are today, where so many people are aware of the fact that they don't have to go back to a job. You don't have to go back and work in an office full of people you don't like. You can create your own business. You can do your same work virtually and still have that job if you want to. You can have a better job doing the same thing virtually if you want to, live anywhere you want. What I advocate for is starting your own business where you're serving up your own product or service, and do that from wherever in the world you want to do it. Do it online. That is the perfect business for you and for me. And it's available to you right now. There's never been a time in history where it's more available. There are over 7 billion people on the planet. Over half those people have access to the internet. Most of those people have learned how to buy things online in the last year. They learned how to do online meetings, online learning, online work. And the time is now. There are more millionaires being made right now than there ever have been at any single point in history up until this moment. And it's because people are realizing they can do this. Where they used to have $1 million to invest to get a business going, you can now create one from scratch for no dollars. And in my business, we are doubling down on serving people. And the ways in which we're serving have evolved and changed over the last year and a half. We do copywriting for people, for companies, for entrepreneurs. I actually currently have a slot for one client, which I haven't done in many years, but I'm doing it now because there are so many opportunities. I want to be involved at the ground level in this market. We're creating our own products and services and classes. We are training copywriters and certifying copywriters. We're doing live events. I'm doing speaking gigs. I've got a new book I'm working on. This is our moment, people. This is our time. So my question to you is, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to step up, create, and profit? I hope so. I pray that you are. If not, start thinking about it. If this is something you want to hear more about, then let me know in the comments under this video. We're going to be doing more free live trainings. My goal is going to be to deliver good, powerful training that is useful to you. This one was intended as a thought starter. I hope it started you thinking. I hope to see you back here soon. So until we meet again, God bless, be well, peace to you, and peace to your house. See you soon.